Tom Preston, it's good to have you in, mate. I'm kind of excited to hear the stories and
Thanks for having me.
what you've been through, but to be honest, I know nothing. To be honest, I know nothing at all. So we're going to get into it and relax, mate, and take as long as you need. And
Sure.
if you need anything, mate, just let me know.
All right.
So we obviously don't know each other.
No.
But we went to the same school,
Mm-hmm.
St Virgil's.
Yeah.
He was a year below me.
It's a long time ago now.
Yeah, it was. Was that yeah, you was 1 year below me or two?
Yeah, no, just the one.
1 year, yeah.
Yeah.
Did we ever talk in school?
Oh, no, I always knew who you were. That's not always a good thing. No, but you had a bit of a public presence in the school. Getting in front of everyone.
Yeah, everyone knew me, but I didn't know any. What's your memory of me, mate? Polly?
Yeah, that's the strongest one.
Yeah.
And stuff Nick Smith told me about you.
Yeah.
But
Was that good stuff or bad stuff?
oh no, for the best part, it was good. it was all music related.
Yeah.
No, but no, we didn't know each other.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Just pull that mic in a bit closer. Yeah, so we went to school together, St Virgil's, which would have been, I finished year 10 in 2004, so you would have been 05.
That's right.
You go to Guildford, young? Yeah.
It's in town.
Oh, the Hobart one, yeah.
Yeah.
So you pretty much followed me. What'd you do after college?
Well, college is sort of where it started. It was mid college. So I finished grade 11 and just rolled into the start of grade 12. And then it all kind of got cut short for a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's obviously that's why you're here, basically, because
Yeah.
it wasn't your idea to come on, it was your partner's.
Someone put my hand up.
Yeah.
That's all good.
Like, oh, he'll do it.
Yeah.
You wasn't here at the time, and she basically just said, "Oh, you should ask Tom. He'd be really good." And I was like, "Oh, really?" And she's like, "Yep." Obviously, I asked you, and you're like, "Yep, no worries."
Oh, well, we'll have a conversation about that later, me and her.
Yeah, right.
No. Happy to be here.
I would have thought that. Yeah, I would have thought that would have already happened.
Yeah, no.
She threw you in here, mate. But so walk us through. The floor is yours, mate. Walk us through after school and everything that happened with you.
I had a pretty sweet life as far as school went. Like academically, things were good there. Did well in grade 11, and at the time I was riding to school on a motorbike. I was also learning to fly, and speaking with the Defence Force, looking at career options for the future. And yeah, I was lucky enough for them to accept me to ADVA on the pathway of becoming a helicopter pilot. Helicopter because it's more likely you'll get in a seat quicker than if you wanted to get into a plane.
Yeah,
So go helicopter, jump across when you can. And so life was pretty sweet, all that was happening.
So this was just after grade 12. This is what happened. You went straight to down at Paravon. Is that where you didn't go there?
I started flying in grade 9.
Oh, did you really? Jesus.
Yeah, back at
Bloody hell.
at Cambridge.
Really?
Yeah. I just put every single cent into it.
Yeah. And so what was, when you first started flying, was it just like, just because you wanted to?
I've always,
Yeah.
whole life,
Yep.
it's the only thing I've ever wanted to do.
Yep.
And my parents knew that, and so they got me going. But I think after the third lesson, every cent was on me.
Yep.
And so I never had any thoughts on ever doing anything different, and there was absolutely zero reason why it shouldn't be my dream and why it shouldn't happen. So, and Defence Force tells me, yeah, great, we'll take you. And big tick, and then it's just enjoy the rest of school with your mates, and go into the real world.
So they said when you finish school, you're good to come.
Yep.
Yeah. And what was normally the prerequisite to get into that? Was it?
There's just an initial application, but then they get you to do pilot testing, which is written stuff. It's visual. It's got to be checked by the doctor. It's all quite hard and fast.
Yeah.
It's just putting you under pressure, aptitude testing, things like that. And
so just go back. So when you was in, say, grade 9 or 10, you got your motorbike license.
Mm-hmm.
That was just to get to school and stuff like that, or you just always wanted to?
My birthday's in December, and so all of my friends had been on their L's in the car for a year, and they were all just starting to get their P's. I thought, I'm not waiting a whole year.
Yeah.
So how do I get myself around?
Yeah.
Get a motorbike. And it turns out I love riding.
Yeah.
Fantastic. If I was thinking about my future and career and the potential risks of riding, I might have not made that decision, but you're like,
yeah,
I was 16.
Yeah.
What do you do? So rolled around into grade 12 at the start. I think it was about 7 days in. We'd had a walk to Cornelian Bay as a whole school, and so we had an early afternoon off. Beautiful day. Go put my gear on, jump on the bike, and head home. It was a mate's birthday, so I was going to be going there, but jump on the Tasman Highway, heading towards the airport, and there's this big long loop up to Mornington. Everyone in Hobart would know that.
Yep.
And there's 2 lanes. The left lane, they don't have to stop for anything, and the right lane at the top, they have to merge. And I loved that corner.
On the inside or the outside?
On the outside,
yeah.
Because everyone goes really slow on the inside lane. I wasn't going incredibly fast. It was like this is 60 k's maybe. It's a long lean, and you're constantly looking up to the right to see if there's going to be any cars passing when you've got to merge. And I saw I had a gap. I'm like, that's nice. There's a car there, but that's okay. There's a gap. And so I proceeded as if I would never have to stop. And that car sort of started closing the gap on me. And I don't know if you've ever had one of those oh shit moments, where the inside of the adrenaline, the world just stops.
Yep.
And I only been riding a year really, so you'd still say inexperienced rider. I'm like, how do I stop as quick as possible? You dump on all your brakes, front and rear. But because it's a big long bank, leaning over to the left, when you hit those brakes, the bike wants to keep going in that direction.
Yeah.
And so it stopped. I flew off up into the air. I didn't touch the car that blocked me. It's not their fault. I didn't touch the car that blocked me. Missed them. Got thrown into a van coming towards me, the other direction.
So head on. You hit the van head on.
I hit the front right pillar of that van, bit of the windscreen.
The bike as well as what you and the bike, or just you?
Sorry, my mouth's really dry. To be honest, I couldn't tell you what happened to the bike.
Yeah, yeah.
Because in the air is kind of where my memory stops.
Yeah.
And then it gets messy because I've got this sort of fading in and out consciousness. As it happened, I had several people coming home the same way with me from school, several friends and stuff like that. And so there were people around, and a couple pulled over and stopped and stuff. But from and people have told me more about what happened. But from my memory, I sort of open my eyes and I'm on the ground and it is boiling hot, like it is so hot. Probably because of the gear, wore it all.
Yep.
But like the sun beating down on the asphalt and everything. And I remember just thrashing around trying to rip my helmet off and things like that. Which is pretty sort of...
So you stood up? Or are you talking about laying on the ground?
No, I was laying on the ground trying to sit up.
Yeah.
Sit up, rip my helmet off. Which is sort of not a great thing if it turns out there was any neck injuries.
Yeah, yeah.
As it happened. So some ambos were off duty. I got an emergency nurse off duty, just happened to stop. So I got lucky from there. And so they had to fight me sort of at the crash scene for a while. Bike was a write-off, but that had skidded down the road a bit. And my next memory from that is telling someone who was walking with like a gurney my dad's phone number, and then it just went blank.
And you don't remember nothing?
No, things stopped. And in that time, I managed to fracture my skull, break my neck up near C1. I tore my left lung off the airway, so that was just hanging there. I got cuts to my liver and spleen, broke 3 ribs. I tore my right PCL in my knee. And as a result of the neck or the impact, it's pretty typical for motorbike accidents. It's called a brachial plexus injury. Basically, your head goes one way, your body goes the other, and the nerves in your neck just go pop, 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 and pull out. And the last thing that happens is pretty much any accident where the rider hits something at all with their head is you have some level of an acquired brain injury. And so when my memory stopped there, that was pretty much my body just protecting myself, because there was a whole lot of mess going on.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, no, it would not have been nice to be aware of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so, career on hold kind of thing.
Yeah.
But so the next time I actually spoke to someone, they were asking me, can you tell me your name? Where are you? And you do the whole, Tom Preston. Where am I? And I'm just looking around. I'm like, hospital? Which one? the Royal Hobart Hospital. No. The buggers have flown me to Melbourne.
Oh, really?
I woke up, I was in a different state. They're asking me why I didn't know where I was. I was confused.
Fuck.
So they'd spent a good 2 weeks trying to look after me in Hobart, keep me alive.
So was you in a coma at all?
Yeah.
Yep.
I got put in an induced coma. It was somewhere between 4 and 6 weeks. And that's a trippy experience. Like, have you ever been put in?
No.
No. Anyone that's had it, the amount of drugs that it takes to keep someone that out of it, you get some stuff going on in your brain.
Yeah.
And like the dreams are wild, really, really wild.
So you're in a coma for 4 weeks, you said?
Yeah.
And you're not conscious at all for the 4 weeks, but you remember having dreams. Is that right?
They're the most real dreams I've had in my life.
So when you woke up, you could remember the dreams?
Yeah. And I should have written more in a book or something while they were all fresh. But they're just so real, so visceral. Like, I can give you a couple examples if you want.
Yeah.
One was me being strapped to the bonnet of a police van. Oh, sorry, not police van, an ambulance. These ambos, they said, all right, we'll take you to the hospital. And I imagine some of this stuff is real memories, and some of it is
imagination.
Yeah. And so these ambos strap me on their bonnet, and they go screaming through over to town at night, and like they are going everywhere, and it's wild, and I'm slipping and sliding, and stuff like that. And they dropped me off at this mental hospital. Well, it's a mental hospital. It was trippy. Everyone was in chambers standing up against a wall, and they had these tubes plugged in. It was like when they cryogenically freeze people.
Yeah.
You see in the movies.
Yeah.
It was like that. Everyone was lined up and plugged in like that. There was this mad scientist to my right just playing with this neon glow of different chemicals pumping and mixing, and it was petrifying. And so I decided I had to escape from there. And it was a mission, and running around this hospital, and there were police looking for me. Like, where's this Tom Preston? I don't know. I don't know where in that the police came into it. I mean, they would have come to my hospital bed at some point. So I escaped this hospital, but when I get out the door, that someone they'd walked through, and I raced out. I'd set off this big alarm, and it was like the door was where the Grand Chancellor is, that door.
Yep.
And I ran out into their driveway, and police started shooting at me. And so I'm running between cars, and I'm sprinting around the wharf. And there's this just gunfire raining down on me. And I make it for a bit, but I'm hiding behind buildings, and I'm sweating bullets, and it was absolutely terrifying. I've never been that scared in my life. I was probably less scared than that moment I hit my brakes and to avoid that accident. Eventually they caught me, and they threw me in the back of one of those little divvy vans. But the van was never going anywhere, and it was full of crazy criminals. And there was this little mesh wall between the crazies and the less crazies, and the less crazies weren't any less scary. There's this man just sitting there with a knife on the other side, just looking at me, running his fingers up and down this knife. Yeah.
That's crazy you remember such detail.
Yeah.
So when you woke up, did you Was that like your first thought, or did that come later? The dreams.
Waking up from it was such a process that it was 3 days of slowly waking up.
Yeah.
And so my dad had come to the bed and I'd ask him some questions, just like confused state. And then, I'd go back to sleep for a bit or whatever. Just naturally, not on the drugs, but, I still got some in my system. And then the next day, Dad would come to see me again in Melbourne at this point. And I'd say all the same questions. I'd ask him all over again. It was probably a week or so of that kind of thing happening. And so me being aware of the dreams then, I don't think I was, because I wasn't aware of anything. It was a really, really confusing time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy? Like, I wonder if, because you were in a coma and obviously you were probably life or death at that point, I wonder if we're ever in that situation, I wonder if those dreams are like your brain just kind of going through a scenario. And I wonder if, like, when you said that guy was running his finger up and down the knife, and I wonder if in the dream he had to come and stabbed you, would you have actually died in real life? Like, I wonder if that's, you know what I mean? Like, it's crazy that that's the kind of dream you had. How did that dream end? Do you remember? Do you know, or was that kind of how it ended?
I couldn't confidently say how that one ended. I mean, a couple of days of dream time after that, I was in Europe and me and my dad were on the run and he killed someone and and there was another one where the Family Guy intro movie played on repeat for 24 hours. I say 24 hours. It felt like a day of my life watching the same thing just play over and over.
You a fan of that show?
I was. No.
That's crazy.
Yeah, no.
That's fucked. It's just...
I
can't even... Yeah. It's just crazy that you remember such detail, but such weird dreams, you know?
It's a fun experience. It's a fun experience. I wouldn't want anyone to have to go through it, but that.
Yeah.
It wasn't the worst side effect,
So walk me through you coming out of the coma and what happened. What happened then with obviously injuries and your life at that point, I guess.
So I'm in the trauma ward. Well, sorry, ICU, where I woke up and shortly after that moved to a trauma ward. I've got my neck in a collar. I have stuff coming out of me everywhere. That time where I'd been asleep, I'd had operations to try and get my lung inflated again and to clear any fluid out. Lots of stuff to keep me alive. There weren't any external injuries, so they didn't really have to treat any of that. I was covered up.
Yeah.
So as it was all internal, there wasn't a lot to see. All the gear was associated and just keeping me in that coma. So when I woke, and I'd actually gotten past the whole "where am I" thing, with my dad having to tell me each day, it was just slowly stepping back into the world again, remembering that there are things going on outside the hospital and there are people that I care about, and remembering all these things. It was like a learning process. And it was probably a good 3 days before I said, "Hey, Dad, is there something wrong with my arm?" I just hadn't noticed because you're so drugged up and you just, everything's sore anyway. And I couldn't really move. I didn't have the I was pretty broken. So yeah, I couldn't really move, but something must have happened that made me think, oh, I don't think I can move my arm right. Is there anything wrong? And that was a hard conversation. Probably for my dad, more so than me. Followed up pretty close by me. Because like that future that was always going to be my future, that everything had just gone perfectly, that future was no more. And that whole forever idea, gone forever, was a pretty big pill to swallow.
And so what was the injury to your arm? Is it nerve damage, was it, or?
So that brachial plexus injury, was the nerves of C5, C6, C7, C8, and T1. And so there's different levels of the injury, but my nerves pulled out of the root at my spine. If the nerves break at any point further down, you've got a much, much better chance of them being able to repair.
Yep.
But if you actually pull them out of the plug on your spine, it becomes far less likely to be able to heal. Excuse me.
And that's obviously what happened with you.
Yeah, so I got the rough end of the end of the stick.
Yeah.
So I mean, the rest of the stuff wasn't really a focus at that point. It was more just the arm thing.
So how was you said your spleen and your liver was damaged and your lung was hanging off, and so they repaired all that pretty well?
So there wasn't really much they could do initially with the arm. Most of their work was around my chest in keeping the lung inflated and keeping the bronchus, the left bronchus, which is the core airway, keeping that open because it kept collapsing. So that was their focus. The arm was just sort of left to the side for a while.
Yeah.
And I mean the rest of it, the PCL, I still haven't had looked at or fixed. Sorry. The ribs healed, the injuries to my organs have healed. The brain injury will be with me always. The left lung, they spent a long time inserting tubes, stents, to hold that airway open and to give it a chance to nip back up. And I would have. I don't have a number on the amount of operations to keep that lung open, but it would be somewhere, if you included all the day surgeries, it'd be in 3 figures. Putting these tubes in, taking these tubes out, sucking out the crap that's blocking up their precious tube, and using a laser to burn off all the tissue growth, because your body's like, oh, that's not part of us. Let's cover it up. Let's squish it. So that, I guess that was the thing that was focused on in the initial recovery.
Yeah.
So
how was so obviously you broke your neck. How was your spine? Any injuries there at all? Or you got lucky there?
Yeah, so the skull fracture was minor. The neck, I had that collar on for 3 months. So that was just left. Otherwise, injury wise, I wasn't bad. So they eventually they sat you up, and because you've been on your back so long, when they sit you up, all of a sudden your body's got this weight to it that it didn't have.
Yeah.
So they tilt you up 10 degrees at a time. And when I finally got to the point of sitting upright, heart rate went up to 185 or something like that. I thought I was going to pass out. They put you on this big tilt table. But once they got me upright, that was the time they shipped me down the road to the rehab place, get you up standing and sort of doing all those things to move it along.
Yeah. So how's so what year did the accident happen?
February 2007 is when it happened. It was 3 months before I was back in Tassie. And yeah, and that's when I guess I started to think about some of the other costs that had come associated with it. One being neuropathic pain. When you tether the nerves out, your brain sends all these pain signals because it's saying, well, there's something wrong with your arm, there's something wrong with your arm. There's nothing wrong with your arm. The messages just aren't getting through.
Yeah.
And so they send a bunch of neuropathic pain. And have you heard about phantom limb syndrome?
Yeah.
So the pain feels right now like it's in my left arm. It's not. There's nothing wrong.
Yeah.
But so that's something that's still with me. The acquired brain injury. I guess I was kind of lucky there, because this is just an assumption. I'm definitely less capable than I was. They say you're just as intelligent as you were before. You just don't have the ability to utilize it. So I think I'm kind of lucky because I sort of perhaps started a little bit higher when I hurt myself. I wasn't as bad as some might be. But that's probably that'd be the biggest thing impacting me still to this day. As not something that I ever considered in the hospital days.
Yeah. So that was what 17 years ago, something like that.
Yeah, half my life.
Yeah,
half my life with, half my life without my
arm. So have you, like, say, maybe like in the last 10 years, has things gotten better, or this is kind of just you? Nothing's ever gonna. Like, do you still go to the hospital and stuff and see?
Yeah.
What do you haven't done now?
The only thing happening now is still with the chest.
Okay.
Every year I fly over to Melbourne. I stick a laser down into the airway. The camera cuts stuff up and burn bits away with a laser. So I've got a nice open airway again.
So is it over time it kind of just collapses, is it? Is that what?
Stuff creeps in and blocks the ends.
So how's your cardiovascular? You can run and you can breathe heavy and stuff like that, doesn't?
Yeah, they said you you do lung function tests and things like that, and I'm down to sort of 50% capacity on the left one.
Yeah.
So, still fine. Probably won't be an issue until I'm 70 or something like that.
Do you have inhalers or prescription drugs that you take for that sort of stuff?
Not for the chest.
No.
Not for the chest. Take plenty for the pain.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't know if people know what they are, but I take a sedative, I take an antidepressant, I take and 2 convulsant medications. None of them are made for pain. They're all made for something else. The only reason I use them is for pain.
So how does that work then if it's not made for pain?
Happy coincidence that they work.
Yeah.
Apparently nerve pain's quite tricky to treat, and I had a team in Melbourne who just kept working at possible ways to tap into that pain, and they built me up this concoction, and I stuck with that for a really long time, and until just recently, it stayed the same, 15 years or so probably. So I was back home. Every now and again I had to get checked out. Did use a physio and things like that, and I had 3 major surgeries for my arm. The first was basically just a heap of nerve grafts. They take nerves all over my body and mesh them in back up here in my neck. That was meant to give me feeling and some movement. That
Didn't work? No.
That first one didn't give me much. And then they did these other 2, which did give me something. And these are all happy days. I'm in a good mind, a good headspace. All this stuff's happening. Things are getting better. It was really great. And so I found this surgeon. My other one retired. Found this surgeon, and he said, "We're going to take these muscles from your thigh, from your groin to your knee, out of each leg, and we're going to strap them from your rib, your second rib here, all the way down to my wrist. One big long thing."
That's got to be pretty major, I'm guessing.
Oh yeah. They had to take a big muscle flap from my legs and insert it up here. I've got leg hair now that grows in this little patch of skin. And so this big long muscle, and then they taken nerves out of my ribs and put into that to give me this sort of elbow flexion. It's basically the one movement I've got, that in my shoulder, and it's a little bit of a party trick, but because the nerves they've used to move this muscle were from my ribs, their job was literally to help my rib cage expand and contract. And so if I breathe in, and I try not to control it, if I just breathe in, my arm will just lift up like that.
Right. That's crazy.
Yeah, they don't forget. The nerves don't forget
that's crazy.
What they're meant to do.
Yeah.
But it was about then. After that was all happy. And I'm at uni. And I'm like, well, what am I going to do? I can't fly.
What are you doing at uni at this point?
I started studying medical research. Turns out,
Ironically.
Yeah, I got a little bit interested.
Yeah.
All that time in the hospitals.
Yeah.
You see some stuff. So I got interested, and I thought, well, what's the next coolest thing that I think I could find and do? And yeah, medical research was the one. I stuck with that for a while, but learning was hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
The whole acquired brain injury thing hadn't occurred to me, just
Yeah.
how much of a hit it would take, and the amount of hours to spend just going over the same information in my brain to just make it stick, because it wasn't sticking, and there was some really long days in there, like 10 hours at uni, and then 4 hours at home, 5 hours at home, and then the stuff might might not stick.
Yeah.
So that was really hard, and did it for 3 years, and I passed a heap of subjects. I failed a heap of subjects. I redid them. I didn't make compared to everyone else. I didn't make fast progress or anything like that, but I stuck with it, and I for the 3 years, and ticked off a heap of units. But I got to a breaking point. This just isn't. This just isn't going to work, because in terms of a career, for me to get anywhere in that field, you need to go and do a doctorate, 6 years. It wasn't going to happen for me. So then I was like, well, what's a plan B? So I'm going down my rung of things. Okay, well, what's the next thing I'd rather be doing? I chose civil engineering, just at TAFE, Cert 4.
How old are you at this point?
23. This is 2013. So, yeah, 6 years after. I guess I just enjoyed working with computers, and I thought the idea of sketching up structures and parts of buildings and things might be a fun thing. It was okay, but civil stuff can be a bit boring. It's drains, it's walls. It's not fun. And like the stuff did stick better. It wasn't as hard to lock in the info. It was stuff that I'd learnt before in maths and things like that. So that was all right. But I realised that just wasn't for me. And I left from that towards the end of the first year, and that sort of enters me into my sort of first period of no study, no job, up in the air. Not long after that, I was driving with a friend. I'd had them out drinking. I had a few friends, so I dropped some off. I had one left with me. I hadn't drunk that night. And going past Clarence High School on Clarence Street, I went through, things just stopped. I went through a red light and hit a car turning left. And I ended up 500 or 600 meters down the road. Turns out I'd had a seizure. And it didn't look good because I kept driving, and I hadn't stopped at all at the intersection. I don't have memory of the going through the red light bit, but I remember the car hitting the car. I remember going down the road. And that was really scary because that was just a whole blank. That was just gone that time. You know, everyone was okay. But I had this new fun thing that decided to happen to me. And a lot of looking into, but no one really worked out why it happened. They said brain injury is a common thing. You know, so that was not great as a new thing. And it had been a while of no study and no work, and all these medical procedures, they'd all stopped. You know, nothing's really happening. Things aren't progressing anymore. I'm not getting closer to being back to Tom. On top of that, these drugs really leveled me out, like, but not in a good way, just numbed me out. And so my brain's foggy, and you know, I can't do the things that I want to do with my brain. I can't do the physical things that I want to with my arm. You know, and things had become static. Like, and I just started to think to myself, and is this it? Is this how it is now? I sit on my disability pension, sit at home, you know, and yeah, depression hit pretty hard. Slow at first, but it built up. So I reckon after I'd had a relationship end. Not a. It was a year. It was not insignificant, but it ended. I'd moved out with this person, and so we'd broken up, and they'd moved out, and that sort of added to the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I guess me being alone. Not that there weren't people checking in, and you know, like I couldn't, like people weren't there to contact, but you know, living at home on my own, you sort of get in your own head a bit, and you know, I mean, I think there, you know, a majority of people have gone through some hard time, and many people have had depression of different levels. But yeah, in my own head, building up over time, and with all this nothingness happening, I started to get pretty dark, and I always wondered why people would cut themselves before. But I started doing that to myself. I couldn't really tell you why. It just felt like that might ease things for me. So I started, I'd go in the bathroom and sit down, and like it was a process. I'd clean the knife, and basically sliced up both my quads. There's big scars there now that never go away, but what's another scar on me?
Are you living at your parents' at this point?
No.
What bathroom is this?
So I was living on my own. while I was doing this, an uncle and my auntie, who had been travelling, came and they stayed for a bit. So I'd been doing this, cutting myself and on my own, and gaining, I'm not sure what from it, and then they came as just using my place as like just a hub while they take a break from travelling. And it was good to have them there. It livened things up. It got me being more social. But the cutting started turning to the darker thoughts, and yeah, darker thoughts. It just made me question a lot of things, you know, just those old questions. Is it worth it? You know, do I want to be here? And it seems so selfish now. And it felt selfish at the time, but to anyone that hasn't been there, I don't know if I can convey, because you love your family with everything, you know, and I would never do that to anyone now. No one important to me. It just wouldn't happen. But in that space, I don't care. In that space, everything is the worst, and anybody else's upset at me being gone is secondary to me not being in this life anymore. And so one day, my uncle was home. I went down to the bathroom like I did. I hadn't seen him. I didn't know if he was in the house or in his van out the back. But I start working on my wrists. I took that step. So, you know, I was working away at the left one because I was holding the right knife in my right hand, so that was a bit awkward. And I'm working away at the left one, but I've had all this surgery and stuff on it. I don't know how anatomically similar it is, but I couldn't get the flow happening. So then I started trying to do my right wrist with my right hand, and that was awkward. And I just couldn't do it. Like I couldn't. And like there was a lot of blood and stuff, but you know, it was clear that I hadn't succeeded. And I broke down and I was just crying on the floor and a little pool of blood. And my uncle, you know, was quite distressed at this point. He was on the other side of the door, and I just said, "Call Dad, just call Dad," because he has been there every step from when he came and found me at Royal Hobart to the 3 months in Melbourne. He was there every day. He was staying in a hotel. He'd walk to the hospital every day. Then when I changed hospitals and went down near Richmond, he's walking, you know, the length of Punt Road to Richmond to be at this other hospital every day. Anyway, so I'm like, please just call Dad. And he came, and that was embarrassing and shameful that I'd done that, given that everything everything he'd put into my recovery, and like the list is endless. in terms of what he did, what he sacrificed. Not just him, but he was the key figure. And he was great, of course. Shocked and, you know, upset that it got to that point. But, you know, he's your dad. We went to the ED and they stitched me up. And they asked me, "Are you going to hurt yourself again?" And I said no. But if I ask myself honestly now, did you mean no, Tom? No, you wouldn't do it again? You wouldn't try to hurt yourself? I'd say that was probably a lie. And that's just that selfish mindset that I was in.
That's a pretty dumb thing for the nurses or whoever to say though. If someone's if someone's that bad, they want to end their life, and the nurse says, "Are you gonna do it again?" Like, that's just
it does. It seems dumb, doesn't it? Like, of course, someone's gonna say no if that's what they want.
Yeah,
you know.
Because if you say yes, then you're probably going to be in a psych ward, and
that was it.
Yeah,
I knew. They said, "We'll send you up to the psych ward, not the scary one. There's one downstairs for all the scary stuff, but there's a regular one upstairs, and that's where they were going to send me." And you know, who wants to say yes to that?
Yeah, that's right.
Let's go to the psych ward.
Yeah.
So you know, a few weeks went by. I was home stitched up. It was all good. A few weeks went by. Obviously, the mental condition hadn't changed in, you know, 2 or 3 weeks. So I was still ultimately feeling the same way, and I'm like, well, what can I do? Obviously, I failed that first time. Maybe I need to think about this a different way. And just running through the options, I'm like, you know, none of them are that great. I started looking into the medications that I'm on, and, you know, are any of them candidates to help in my life that way? Turns out 2 of them were. And I spent first half of a day, you know, writing these messages on my phone to people, and using an app to send them later. So I put all these messages in and set the timers and stuff so that they'd get the message, but they'd get it
Too late.
Yeah. And that whole the action, you've got all these tablets in your hand, the action of getting them into your mouth, and then the bit where you actually decide to swallow. I sat there for a good 2 or 3 minutes before I was able to go, yeah, I'm going. I'm going to do it. So I had about 40 pills in my hand, a couple of bottles of things. Down they went. And I just lay on my bed. And it turns out I stuffed up with the timers. And message to my brother and a message to my dad. They went through straight away. I opened my eyes, and I think it had been a couple of days in at the Royal. They pumped my stomach and did all that, and I'd stuffed up again. And at that point, they're not taking my word anymore that I'm not going to do it. So I shoot up to the psych ward. Probably not as bad as everyone imagines, but you know, they to be honest, they didn't actually do very much. I just sat up there for 2 weeks. Come and check on you. It's not like the movies. There wasn't any group therapies. I didn't see a psychiatrist or anything like that. It's really weird.
It's just a way for them to keep an eye on you. And
it's a safe thing.
Yeah.
And after they think that you're stable for a certain amount of time, they let you go. So yeah, I spent a good amount of time then speaking with psychologists, and found a good relationship with one, and I worked out what the problem was, what had broken me down in the first place, and how to build myself back up. And it seemed that what was going to get me back into a better place was, 1, a distraction, 2, a job, 3, a loving relationship, and wait, I said a house. That was a whole lot more attainable before, like at the time.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, that's not as necessary as it'd be nice. And so I had my distraction, and that was my flight sim on the computer.
Oh, yeah.
Spent a lot of hours doing that, and that was really helpful. And so the next thing for me was a job. But it was sort of a 10-year gap on my resume.
Yeah.
So I did a few different things. I worked for a mortgage broker, just office work, for an occupational therapist, a phone research company. Yeah, one of those ones that, you know, will ring you up on Sunday night, you know. Just ask you everything you don't want to answer. Yeah, I did that for a bit. Filled a gap in my employment history. But then I fell into this job. I got hooked up with an employment service for disabled people, and they teamed me up with this organisation, Tasso, who basically work with all the school associations of all the state schools. So, you know, we'd be looking a little bit at like children's rights in the school, and are they being fairly represented, and you know, are there any schools missing out, and all these sort of things. And so it got me thinking into a world of education. And I worked at that for 3 years, and it was a really rewarding experience. There was only 2.8 full-time equivalent staff. And so I do my 10 hours a week kind of thing, doing that, and that had me in a good place. I was working, I was going to the gym, I was having hit and miss relationships, but you know,
Getting the ball rolling.
yeah, life was happening.
Yeah.
So that was all good. Yeah, so that was really good. And I quite enjoyed the job. Unfortunately, there was a a change of management, you could say. And I was the last original one there. And with the new regime, there's no way I was going to hang around. So I bailed out. For a bit. But something I realised that when I was doing that job was that I did have a passion for kids. I do have a passion for education. You know, maybe there's something I can do there. And I didn't think that I'd ever be sort of at a level of being able to be a teacher. Things with the brain injury are like the organisation and multitasking and things like that. I wouldn't say it would be impossible, but I just wanted to have a life where I could not stress myself mentally, like with the medical research. I knew that there was no gains in pushing myself harder than I can achieve.
Yeah.
To live like a balanced life where Tom can have his fun, do his job, and sort of a happy balance. So I ruled that out. But a few of the staff at Tasso had said, "Oh, you should be a TA, Tom." And yeah, then that job ended. So I wasn't working for quite a bit. I did some more of that phone stuff just to pay the bills. During that time, that's when I found my partner Lou, who you know for quite a while now.
Yeah.
She, I don't want to make this too much about her, but get her head up. But like, look. She did some heavy lifting. She changed my life after 3 months. I was in with her at her place, and family thinking I'm a bit crazy, and what if this doesn't work out, Tom? And all of this, but Lou, she's like the kindest person I've ever met, and the things she did to give me the motivation, the drive, the belief in myself, to be able to be bigger, to be better. She spent a good amount of energy reinforcing that and pushing me in the right direction. So I started applying at all these different schools to be a TA, not a huge dream, but it's probably where I wanted to be, and I couldn't find a job. It was all nothing. I got called in a few times for some relief stuff, but it never really held out. And then she's like, Tom, apply for McKillop. And I'm like, oh, it's a private school, they're pretty decent over there. And she's pushing. So yeah, no, that's what I did. I got a job there, and that's what I'm doing. That's where I came from today.
That's full time?
Yeah, full time now. No disability pension. Kick that to the side. And I've always said that's how I want it to be. I don't want to be reporting to Centrelink
Yeah,
and
yeah.
dependent on them.
So where are you at? Where are you at now with life? So you're 35?
Yeah, gone from 17 to 35. Well, I'm 35 this year in a bit.
Yeah.
You know, I'm still going to get my chest done every year.
So that'll be a lifelong thing, is it?
Yeah, yeah.
Every year you'll have to go to Melbourne.
Unless something in medicine changes, I'm happy to do that. It's a free holiday.
Yeah, yeah.
Tassie government can't.
Is it actual surgery or is it just down the mouth? Like, what is it?
Oh, it's down the mouth. It's a full anaesthetic. It's down the mouth. You're out in half a day.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
in and out. So there's that. The medicine side of things. There are alternative options now. Some more natural options. Nothing naughty, like all legit.
Yeah.
You got to say that. It's true though. But I've massively weaned down my all the pharmaceuticals. Like especially this one. There's this one, and it turns out it was having the most hit cognitively. Lyrica, and I was on 900 milligrams a day, and I was told that you're the second highest person in the state for this drug, and I thought that's not a great thing. And I just assumed it was all brain injury stuff, this fog, but I've cut things back massively over time, and I'm actually really proud of myself because the pain is exactly the same, and I'm just stepping down and just being able to deal with it. And it's been hard. It's been like one long detox. So then I see these benefits mentally coming up. I'm more sharp. I'm remembering more than I would. I'm capable of more. So that's been a positive change that's been recent. A lot of stuff is stagnant. Like this arm, I think unless there's lots of research going on, but until they are able to, till it gets to the consumer level where it's actually available to me, I need something that will send the signals from my brain directly to my arm, bypassing my neck. It's something that's happening in the world now.
So what movement do you have in your arm? Just that, is it?
It's pretty much just that.
Yeah.
I can lift my arm out to the side a bit.
So nothing.
No. One thing they did that has made it more useful is fuse the wrist.
Oh yeah.
Because before I was all a floppy.
Yeah. So do you have feeling in your hand though? You can feel it?
Not really.
No? Yeah.
No.
Right.
Oh look, it's if you'd like sat on your leg for a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
It feels sort of just numb at the top. But I can feel it. I can tell you where you're touching me.
Yeah.
And then it just gets less and less.
Yeah.
You hit the elbow, and pretty much from the elbow down, all I've got is tingling sensations.
Yeah.
But something that is new, and it's another thing I can attribute to Lou. She's been secretly touching my hand in different places and saying, "Can you feel that? Can you feel that?" And it's not a headline or anything, but I've started to be able to put locations on these sensations. So it doesn't feel like it's my arm, but I'm recognizing that tingles that I'm sensing. I don't actually know how to say it. Tingles that I'm sensing on my phantom arm, I'm able to give them a location now in my brain, and so I can say that's the top of my hand, and it's very hit and miss, and I get it wrong half the time. But
you play games with it. I'm guessing I know what Lou's like.
Yeah. So look, that's something that's recent, and it's just made me think. Oh, hang on, like that's 17 years. Got time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one decision I'd made earlier was to get the thing cut off, and because it's heavy, and I saw that it would be a really good thing to do just to get rid of it, and they were only going to do it from just above the wrist, and I said, well, what's the point in that? And so now that it's stayed on me, I'm sort of thinking, well, when technology does advance, if I can ever get to a point, I've still got the arm, I can still use the arm.
And you're still pretty young, and if it's 20 years away, they can do it,
then there's 55.
You're going to be pretty fucking devastated if you had got your arm cut off 20 years early, aren't you? Like, imagine when you're 55, you've still got another fucking.
You'd be kicking yourself.
Yeah.
And if you're hitting yourself, you're not doing it with your left arm.
Yeah.
So look, I mean, like, positive things are still happening.
Yeah.
Sure that lots of it hasn't changed, but I got an extra perspective on life that I think people probably don't get until quite a bit later in their life.
Yeah.
A lot of life experience. Spending time with a lot of old, sick, and injured people, just sharing stories.
Yeah.
So, like, there's so many negatives in that choice to ride.
Yeah.
So many. But positives have come out of it, and I wouldn't have the life perspective. I wouldn't have overcome what I'd consider pretty major hurdles. I wouldn't be in the job that I'm in. Like, working with these kids gives me great joy to see them improve and to participate and get to do everything that all the other kids are doing. I wouldn't be in Tassie right now. Like, if I wasn't in the Air Force, I wouldn't be in Tassie. If we extrapolate from that, wouldn't be with Lou now.
Yeah.
My life would be way, way different. So and having broken free from the depression state of things, like, life's great right now. Like, it's really good.
Are you still qualified to fly?
No, so basically you have to be assessed again, and they look at what you can and can't do yourself. With modifications, I could potentially still fly. If I could control the throttle on the yoke with my thumb, and if I could also adjust the trim on the elevator on the back. If I could do those two things with my hand, then I could. But it's a question of money.
Yeah. So if you did, let's just say in 10 years' time, technology's gotten further and now they can do surgery on your arm and give you complete movement again, and that happened, would you then go down the path of flying, or are you just totally over that? Are you over that now?
I thought you were going to say, would you go and get another bike?
No.
No. No. Look, I love riding. I love it so much, but it's not something I'd ever do again.
Yeah.
If I did have that scenario, would I go down the path of flying? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's all I ever wanted to do, and if I could do it again, I mean, the military aren't going to touch me now.
Yeah.
You know, there's.
Yeah.
But from a civil point of view,
Yeah.
no, absolutely. Sink every dollar into it.
Yeah.
Um,
I believe that. It'll happen. I think you're still pretty young. There's fucking decades and decades of your life left. I just believe it has to happen.
there are people out there now with similar injuries that have got now the bionic arms and their own arms functioning to a certain level again.
Yeah.
So it literally is a perfection of technology and a trickle down.
I heard a few weeks ago they were doing the very first head transplant. Did you hear about that?
Yeah.
Why are they going that extreme? Like surely just an arm transplant would be.
Yeah, but you might not be happy how you look.
Yeah.
Or it might not be a cosmetic thing. Your body below you is failing. Quick, put me somewhere else. I want a new lease on life, and I'm rich, so let's just do that. No,
That's crazy though, isn't it? That's
if that's the time we're living in, what do I have to worry about?
yeah, I know.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. Full journey, but you know, I mean, at the end of it, all is well.
Yeah.
I consider myself one of the luckiest guys around.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Is there anything you want to say? I mean, would you say that you're perfectly fine now? You're happy, your life's on track, you're just on top of the world? Would you say that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Have you got anything you want to say to anyone that's going through what you went through in your early 20s?
It feels really, really dumb to when you feel like that, the last thing you want to do is to help yourself. Everything is less important than escaping that. This is in the really dark times. For anyone who is feeling like that, no matter how dumb it feels, speak to someone. And I mean a professional, and have a billion boring conversations that are repetitive and feel like it's not getting you anywhere, because it is, and it will. That the consistency in that is what broke me free, along with mates checking in and family and staying healthy, exercise. All of those things help, and flying on the computer.
Yeah.
That was the little relief for me here and there. That was necessary, but speaking to a professional and talking the hell out of it, and it going the whole journey and saying goodbye to life. It's not going to get you what you want, and although you won't care at the time, like, it is selfish.
Yeah.
Because I think everyone out there's got at least one person that's going to care if they did it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'd just say just get help.
Yeah.
However you can. To anyone has the ability to fly, don't ride. And for anyone for anyone considering getting a motorbike, I'd never tell anyone not to get one. I'd never tell anyone not to get one, but every single year there are more cars on the road than there ever have been. You can be as careful as you want. You know, it doesn't mean that everyone will be. I followed the rules as far as riding goes. Made a bad judgment call. The gap closed, and I had to slam the brakes on. I think there's a hell of a lot more blame on my part than the other. They're just driving on a straight road. They don't need to take me into account.
Yeah.
At that point. So shit happens on the roads. It is messy. And on a bike you can come off, and if you've got all the gear on, you can skid down the road for hundreds of meters. You'll be fine. You might get up, go pick your bike up and keep going. But that moment that you hit something, anything, whether it's stationary, moving the same direction as you, moving the opposite direction, that old force equals mass times acceleration.
Yeah.
When your acceleration is 70 to 0 in a second, that force is going to be really big. And the damage it can do, head, arm, chest, knees, all of it.
Yeah.
And then the flow-on effects,
the dark
it's
not just fixing your body, it's everything that comes after that. And
so making choices as a young person, you got to weigh it all up.
I think in saying all that though, everyone's got their own journey, haven't they? You know, I mean, before you got on the bike that day, you didn't go, you know, you didn't tell yourself, fuck, something might happen today, or I bet you jumped on that bike happy as Larry, heading home.
And it was a beautiful day.
Yeah.
And my dad had the conversation with me before. Tom, this is not the greatest idea. You know, of course it is. Your parent is.
Yeah.
And I had a lady at the school I was at once say, "Oh, you're a temporary Australian," meaning that one day I'm going to end up dead.
Jesus.
She was so apologetic afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I look. There's choices you've got to make as a young person. They have real consequences. You don't expect it.
Yeah.
And you'll go on a journey from each experience. But you don't know. You never know.
Well, Tom, I've got to say, mate, I appreciate you coming in and telling me that story, because that's pretty much a timeline of the majority of your life.
Yeah, makes up a lot of it.
Yeah.
It does.
And, I mean, I've known you from school, but I haven't known you. I've just by face, and I first saw you a couple of years ago when you came to the set when was filming, and I think I just said hello to you. And I've met you a few times again since, and, you know, everything seems pretty cool with you and happy, and, you know.
Life's good now.
Yeah.
And I see, and you've got things, balls up in the air, things happening with you. Saw you perform the other week. That was a really fun experience.
I don't know if I said thanks come under that, because that was...
No, you did.
That was my birthday too. That was good.
Yeah, that was a good gig.
You can hear that music now. All right, Tom, it's good to have you in, mate. I appreciate you telling the story, and I'm happy that everything for you now is
Thank you.
up.
I really do appreciate it. Thanks
Cheers,
for having
mate.
me.
That was a big one. Yeah, that was good. That was.
Oh shit! Sorry.
I was thinking. No,